Hi everyone. For today's tutorial, we're going to look at the skill of solving simultaneous equations involving one linear and one non-linear equation. So in this example, you see that there are actually two equations here, y equals x plus 1, and notice that for the first equation, this is actually a degree 1 polynomial. So you would have known that this is actually a linear equation. And if you look at the second equation, that is actually a quadratic equation because it's a degree 2. So what's going to happen is that you will quickly notice that if you're going to interact a linear equation with a quadratic, very likely you would have a situation that looks something like that. And notice that there are two intersections in this case. Now, I must say it's not every interaction there are two solutions. Sometimes there's one, sometimes there's none. But more often than not, you'll see that it is a intersection of two different points. So when we say that we want to solve simultaneously a linear and a quadratic, we're actually trying to find the intersection and the coordinates of those intersections. All right? Now, in order to solve this, you need to recall from the previous tutorials on how to use either the elimination method or the substitution method to solve simultaneous equation. Those skills are going to be very useful. Now, I would say, in my personal opinion, that substitution method is actually the more commonly used method to solve such equations. So I would really recommend you to watch the substitution method if you're not very good at that. All right, so without further ado, let's proceed on to solve example 1. I'm going to show you the process. All right, so step 1, since both are already in the form of y equals to something, we can straight up use substitution method to actually work out the x value. So equation 1 is the linear equation, equation 2 is the quadratic equation. Now I'm going to substitute 1 into 2. So therefore you will see that x squared minus 5 would be equals to x plus 1. Now I'll move everything over to the left. So x squared minus x minus 6 equals to 0. Now we have reached here and you notice that this is a quadratic equation and we want to go ahead and factorize x squared minus x minus 6 and then solve for it. Now there are two methods to factorize that. Either you can split the middle term or you can use t-chart. All right. So for me, I'm more comfortable using t-chart. So I'm going to show very quickly how I use t-chart to factorize this quadratic equation. All right. So let's look at x first. I asked myself this question: what multiplies with what gives me x squared? And the only way to do that is x times x, right? Gives me x squared. Now, similarly, what multiplies with what gives me negative 6? And I have a few choices. But what I want to choose is something that when I add it later on, I'll get a negative x. So I'm picking negative 3 and positive 2. And when I cross multiply, x times of minus 3, I get negative 3x. And x times of 2, I get 2x. When I add it together, I get a negative x, which is what I want, and here's negative 6, which is what I have, and x squared is what I have. So in essence, once that is done, my factors are basically here, already nicely aligned for you. Yeah, so I would say therefore it's x minus 3 and x plus 2. Those are equal to 0, and we can find x. X equals to 3, and x equals to negative 2. So notice that there are two x values, meaning to say that you probably have two intersections or two points of or two solutions in a sense. All right, so from here, I'm going to find my y value. I will probably use equation 1 to help me. So y in this case will be basically 3 plus 1, which is 4. And for this y here, it will be negative 2 plus 1, which is negative 1. So therefore, my two solution is 3, 4, and -2, -1. All right. So yeah, so that is how I solve simultaneous equation involving one linear and one non-linear equation. And do expect that more often than not, you will have two solutions like how I'm showing here. Okay, so I hope this tutorial has been helpful for you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.